That's right. It's KP Video News. I'm going to do something a little bit different today because I'm going to be covering a whole lot of different topics. So hold on to your seats. Now, this first one I'm going to do is about the coronavirus, and this article that I read, and I got this article from the CDC, cdc.gov, that's cdc.gov, and this is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And when I found this, it really kind of threw me off because everybody's like, "Oh, the coronavirus is something new going on." Well, let me read it, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. The human coronavirus types. The coronaviruses are named for the crown-like spheres on their surface. There are four main subgroupings of coronaviruses known as alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Human coronaviruses were first identified in the mid-1960s. The 7 coronaviruses that can infect people are the common human coronaviruses, 229E, that's alpha, NL63, that's alpha, OC43, that's beta, and HKU1, that's beta. And other human coronaviruses are the MERS-CoV, that's the beta coronavirus that causes Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS. 6, this one right here, number 6, you've already heard of, and it's the SARS-CoV, and it's the beta coronavirus that causes severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. And then the one that we're dealing with now is also a version of the SARS virus, and it's called SARS-CoV-2. So the novel coronavirus that causes coronavirus disease 2019, or COVID-19, that's the one we're dealing with right now. And this COVID-19 is actually a severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. This is another SARS outbreak, only it's worse than the SARS outbreak, remember, they had maybe about 10 years ago, maybe? Okay. People around the world commonly get infected by the human coronavirus 229E, NL63, OC43, and HKU1. Sometimes coronaviruses that affect animals can evolve and make people sick and become a new human coronaviruses. These three recent examples of this are the 2019 COVID-19, the SARS-CoV, and the MERS-CoV. So those coronaviruses that those ones that affected animals that eventually evolved and started making people sick. So this SARS we're dealing with right now is an animal-borne disease. That's so don't take my word for it. Go read it for yourself at cdc.gov/coronavirus/types.html. Okay, moving on to the next story. An Oklahoma college recruiter is out of a job after he asked high schoolers to line up by skin color and hair texture. That's right, this actually happened. Students at Oklahoma high school say the college recruiter told them to line up by skin color and then by whether their hair was nappy or straight. The recruiter was speaking to the entire 11th grade class at Harding Charter Preparatory School on February 24th. And the recruiter from Oklahoma Christian University has not been identified, but the university said it did not approve the inappropriate activity before the event. He led a racist activity that was offensive, harmful, and inappropriate. I'm embarrassed, and I'm ashamed, and I'm mad at what happened, and I'm very, very sorry, Oklahoma Christian University's president, John Disteiger, said at a meeting Sunday. Within an hour after the school visit, the admissions counselor was no longer employed at the university. All right, so he did get fired. A spokesman for the university would not say whether the recruiter was fired or resigned. They wouldn't say, well, okay, so clearing that up, they wouldn't say whether he was fired or resigned, but he's no longer there. OC admissions counselors who had visited Harding Charter Preparatory Academy on Monday is no longer an Oklahoma Christian University employee, the university said in a statement. OC admissions leadership did not approve the inappropriate activity in advance and has communicated closely with Harding administration since the visit. And Harding is the school. Students said the assembly upset them. And so he tried to play it off like, oh, okay, let's play a little game. He said, okay, everyone now line up from the darkest to the lightest complexion, and then from like hair textures. Man, that's sickening, man. That's fucking sickening to me. And the guy lost, is no longer there. But just think about the kids, man. You're talking about 430 students attended Harding Preparatory class during 2018 and 2019. The school was more than 68% minorities, and Oklahoma Christian University, a private school in Oklahoma with strong ties to the Churches of Christ. More than 2,000 students from 44 states and 43 countries attend the school. And so this was an act of stupidity, and these kids are traumatized behind this nonsense, man. And this is just way too common. It's happening so much. Man. And we can't get desensitized to this. What we have to do is we have to fight this madness. This is outright stupidity. And they're coming at our kids with this dumb shit every day. Okay. This is something that's going to affect every state that has legal marijuana laws. And Nevada is going to be the first. Nevada may change the DUI law to reflect the unique ways marijuana affects the body. A trooper in Nevada guides her silver Charger through Reno traffic as the sun sets, flipping on her radar from time to time to check the speed of cars whizzing by. There's a young driver who was speeding and driving with friends around expired insurance, and a man in a VW Bug who she saw using his cell phone on the freeway. She stops both and politely issues tickets, but mercifully, radio reports of a rollover on I-80 were false alarms, and nobody seemed to be showing obvious signs of driving under an influence on this Friday night. I feel so strongly about getting drunk drivers off the road, the officer said, who joined the Nevada Highway Patrol after years of police department, even though our pay is less than the surrounding agencies. We're short-staffed just like everyone else, and the mission of the Highway Patrol just really spoke to me. So, what she's talking about, okay, with the legalization of adult marijuana 3 years ago in the state of Nevada, and how to ensure those who are driving when they shouldn't face consequences without ensnaring those whose legal high has worn off. She has specialized training to detect impairment, not just from alcohol, but from marijuana and other drugs. Still, it's a murky position. Cannabis works through the body differently than alcohol, eluding clear-cut measurements like the 0.08 blood alcohol content threshold, limitations on crash data recording, keeping the rise of the polysubstance use in which more than chemical show up of the blood at the time of the crash make it difficult to pin blame. In order to draw accurate conclusions, we need more data regarding the role of marijuana use in traffic crashes. At present, the state has set a limit of data to work with. What we do know, based on the 2016 through 2019 data, is that little over half of all fatal crashes in Nevada include the presence of one or more impairing substances in an individual involved crash. So none of the evidence that were there made me think that anything was traumatic, such a dramatic increase. And so states have gone through similar exercises, such as Michigan have advised against setting any specific numbers on what constitutes marijuana DUI, instead recommending officers determine on a case-by-case basis who is impaired. In spite of the ambiguity, National Traffic Safety officials have narrowed its message to if you don't If you feel different, you drive different. The science of more than 100 different compounds in the cannabis plant called cannabinoids. The one more responsible for the high that marijuana is delta 9 is THC. The psychotropic effects come when the compound binds to the interceptor in the brain. Nevada law specifies that a person is driving under the influence of marijuana if at least 2 nanograms per milliliter of delta 9 THC are found in the blood and 5 nanograms per milliliter of the metabolite hydroxy THC. That so-called per se limit, a concrete number that triggers a DUI, rubbed many people who showed up the interim committee's inaugural meeting in January the wrong way. That's because research shows specific quantities of THC are often unreliable predictors of impairment. So they're working on trying to create a test to determine how high you are off marijuana. And once they figure this out and they create this test, that means it's going to be a lot more people that are going to be getting arrested for DUI in states like Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado. These states where they have legal marijuana. And this is a spinoff of what I know. It's something that I don't usually normally do is report on articles that have to do with entertainers, but this one just came up, and it's R. Kelly pleads not guilty to updated federal indictment. Prosecutors say more charges are coming. So R. Kelly, man, is getting, he's so deep in trouble, I don't think he'll ever get out. And so let me read the story here. And it says R&B singer R. Kelly on Thursday pleaded not guilty to an updated federal indictment that includes child pornography charges and allegations involving a new accuser, while prosecutors said more charges alleging yet another victim are upcoming. Kelly, 53 years old, stood silently in orange prison garb with his hands behind his back as his attorney entered a plea on his behalf at the arraignment hearing in Chicago. More legal trouble is on the horizon for Kelly. The government plans to file more new charges in the coming weeks, adding another accuser. The prosecutor said during the hearing, and they didn't elaborate except that agents recently seized more than 100 electronic devices, including hard drives, in the case. Oh boy, this boy's in big trouble. The possibility of new charges and yet another superseding indictment was among the reasons cited by the U.S. District Judge to push Kelly's April 27th trial date to October 13th. So they just moved his trial date all the way back from April 27th all the way October 13th. So he's going to be there, and he don't have no bail, can't get out. The 13-count superseding indictment was unsealed last month, and is largely the same as the original indictment, which also had 13 counts, but includes a reference to a new accuser, references say only as minor 6. That's what they gave it a title of minor 6. The charges include child pornography and sexual exploitation of children, and conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, as well as the coercion or enticement of a female. Kelly, who has denied ever abusing anyone, faces several dozen counts of state and federal sexual misconduct charges in Illinois, Minnesota, and New York, from sexual assault to heading a racketeering scheme aimed at supplying Kelly with girls. The Grammy Award-winning musician was jailed in July and has been awaiting trial at Chicago Federal Jail, a block from the courthouse where he attends pre-trial hearings. He has participated in hearings in New York, case by video. And R. Kelly, boy, he's in a lot of trouble. And the federal charge in Chicago accused Kelly of filming himself while having sex with underage girls and paying off potential witnesses in his 2008 trial, at which he was acquitted, to get them to change their stories. Man, this guy's in That's the only thing I can say, man, is he's in a world of trouble. And he's in a world of trouble here. And Kelly's co-defendants in the case, ex-manager Daryl McDavid and former employee Milton Brown, have also pleaded not guilty to paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to retrieve pornographic videos in a bid to stave off criminal charges. And wow, Milton Brown. I know somebody by that name that lives in Chicago, so I'm gonna have to do some more research on that. And I hope it's not the Milton Brown I know. And anyway, R. Kelly, you're in a world of trouble, buddy. A world of trouble. That you basically, if you're guilty of this, you brought this on yourself when there's millions of grown women you could have dealt with. I don't get it. It's KP Video News, y'all. It's my new jingle. My new jingle. Peace.